You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 300 of East Central's favorite podcast. I'm Jeremiah Morrell. Today I'm joined by executive video producer, audio engineer, world-renowned runner, Zachary Burcham, and my forever co-host, Mr. Dakota Davis. What are we getting into today?
Today's episode features Mr. Mike and Logan Adams, and they're from Castle Motorsports Park here in wonderful Henry County, Indiana. We're going to be talking to them about the history of the park, the founding of the park, what went into it, all the racing series that come through the park every year, how you can go watch them, what they put on every year, and then also at the very end of the show, we're going to tell you about how you can also go out and drive on the track yourself. So make sure you stick around until the very end of the show.
You too can be a racing legend. This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we'll provoke you. Other times we'll make you laugh. But hopefully you'll always learn something new. Let's see, Dakota. We always vaguely describe what happened in Patreon. We say what happened very badly. Today I'll say it was how chocolate milk failed Zachary.
Yep. How chocolate milk betrayed Zach Burcham.
Oh, that's horrible. That's my favorite thing.
Sacrilege to Zach.
It was a very bad Saturday for Zach.
I had a fun Saturday.
But if you want to hear all about it, there's 20 minutes of moaning and complaining and finding excuses as to why things went wrong, which is what true racers do. If you want to be a part of the Patreon, Dakota, how do people do that?
Patreon.com/BossHogOfLiberty, or you can go to BossHogOfLiberty.com and click the Support Now button. And that is where you can go to support the show on a monetary level. Every month, they start out at $5 a month, and they go all the way to $50 or more a month. And if you give at that level, then you get a shout-out at the front of every episode. And those folks are Mr. Jonathan Phillips, City Council District Number 2 candidate, so he's looking for some donations and things right now. Mr. Anthony Meyer, who is a trucker delivering goods all across the country, keeping America going. And then Miss Christy Avery from all the way in Fort Wayne, our favorite Norwex dealer. Those folks, special thank you to them as always. We also have merchandise. Send a email or a message on the Facebook page at Dakota@BossHogOfLiberty.com or Jeremiah at BossHogOfLiberty.com.
Audrey is making me some custom merchandise. We are the Lap 66 sponsor of the Indianapolis AMR Grand Prix, which is happening this weekend. And she's making me a cup to reflect that.
Yes, that says Lap 66 sponsor or something like that.
Yes. And
Sponsor
Audrey
Lap 66, maybe.
Audrey has been an incredible person to work with because we're on revision 3 because I'm having trouble describing my dream.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having her take the Logan. Are you familiar with the yellow submarine Indy car? The Pennzoil yellow Team Penske car?
Yeah.
I'm having essentially that car turned into this mug with the Boss Hog logo instead of the Pennzoil logo.
That'd be cool.
And then take your mic and just tip it up a little bit, and you'll sound. Oh, there you go. You're gonna sound like $1 million now
compared to the last
Yep,
guys.
there you go.
Now he sounds like Barry Manilow.
Now he's in it. He's in it to win it. All right, so I had her take the Lap 66. She just made this big circle, and I'm like, oh God, is that already printed? And she's like, no, it's not totally done. I said, okay. We zoomed into the car, and I said, here's this Penske truck rental logo with the IMS logo. I said, just rip that off and copy and paste. And I'm sure it's going to be spectacular.
Yep. I told you last week that she will send you a picture before anything gets finalized to make changes as it's needed.
Yeah. So it's going great. All right. So if people want to have her make any merch at all, cups, custom stuff too, but show related merch, you want a hoodie, you want a t-shirt, or a tumbler, we can make it happen. All right, that's enough selling stuff. Why don't you lead the conversation, Dakota? Let's see how far you can carry this.
Yeah.
This is Dakota working without a net because he dreads the month of May.
I'm not a racing guy, guys, so it is what it is.
Not yet.
Yeah. Well, you've been
Not
trying for, what did we say? We're going on 7 years. You've been trying.
It'll all
And,
change at the end of this episode.
I've got a 3-year-old now. If it didn't happen before, it's definitely not happening now.
You
I'm
need to
way
bring
too
him
busy
to a
for that.
racetrack.
Kid cart.
I
5
really
years
do
old.
want to. I mean, my kid is the biggest fan of the Cars movie franchise.
him
so
Saturday.
it has to happen.
Out to the Speedway for the Grand Prix that we sponsor, lap 66, and he can cheer at lap 66. And in just 4 years, Logan Adams over there is going to be in the race. So you better get your seats now.
Pre-order them.
Pre-order. All right, guys, let's talk about it. I want to talk a little bit about when the park was founded, and just give us a general rundown of the history, Mike. Let's go over all of it.
Yeah, so we actually broke ground. There was some stuff, obviously, prior to that, issues with zoning, things like that. This was actually the second.
It's supposed to be the Knightstown Motorsports Park, if I remember my high school history correctly.
Yep, that's right. We were supposed to be one exit back, and zoning got denied. We actually moved out here, which probably, in everything said and done, definitely everything said and done, this is a better location for us, bigger interchange, and it works well.
Fresh water.
Yeah, Henry County has, at that time, it was Tom Saunders did a lot as far as pushing, and getting things done on our behalf. So, very, very grateful to Tom and everything he did to work towards getting that going. But one way or another, we broke ground in May of 2003, actually, and started moving stuff around, making some drainage and getting the track laid out, all that kind of stuff. And fast forward till April, we actually opened April 1st of 2004 for our first official day of practice. And I believe it was April 18th, we had our first race that year, so 2 weeks later. And since then, the place has continued to grow quite a bit over the years. Obviously through 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that area there, we saw a little bit of a downturn, but just the sport in general. But otherwise, it's been a pretty good trajectory for us.
Does it kind of come in waves like that, or is it constant? Like, you'll have dips, but it's constantly going up. Or?
It kind of depends on that was outside factors, right? That was the economy at the time. That was just the issues that we were dealing with. I think it was kind of across the board, and we were just involved in that. As of right now, it's been going. Been going pretty well. Each year we get more races, more different series through the park. We've got our local series, but then we supplement that other weekends with the different traveling series that come through. We have regional, national, up to international events that happen throughout the course of the year. And there's always more out there, so there could be another series that we can get out and host their race as well.
So it's a family operated and owned racetrack.
Correct.
Since the very beginning, it's been started by your father-in-law, Logan, your grandfather, Mark Dismore, who folks may remember the name from multiple starts in the Indianapolis 500 and a successful karting career.
Sure, absolutely. Mark started racing, I believe he was 8 years old when he started racing go-karts, and worked his way up through everything. But yeah, he is the owner, the sole proprietor. The family owns it. But he started racing in go-karts, worked his way up through basically anything you could think of: midgets, Formula Vs, sports car stuff, and all the way up until obviously his career culminated there with IndyCar, and very successful career all the way through. Very, very hard working, very, very strong racer. Basically anything he got in.
Whenever I was looking up, writing the show notes today, it said that Mark had participated in something called the Daytona 24.
Yeah, a little race down there.
I've never heard of this before, and it sounds absolutely insane. Is this still going on?
Oh, yeah. Yes. It's the Rolex 24 at Daytona.
It's the most prestigious
Rolex
sports car
24.
race in the United States.
You remember Hunter Kirk? Remember when we had Hunter on last summer after we got back from Mid-Ohio?
Mm-hmm.
and he had met everybody that was associated with Mid Ohio. Spent the entire weekend meeting IndyCar. He had met half the team owners in IndyCar: Beth Peretta, Mike Shank, all this. This is July of last year, and Mike Shank had just won his second Rolex 24 as a car owner. And he's just a watch nerd and looks at his watch and asks him what the hell it was. What it was. He's like, "It's my Rolex." And he thought Mike Shank thought he was being funny because it was, well known that you win the race, you win a Rolex watch.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it is the Rolex Tour. The Daytona 24 is basically the most prestigious American road race on the calendar.
But it's for people like me. It's called the 24 because it lasts for 24 hours.
Yes. Yep.
Which
you have two or three drivers.
how
Four
many
drivers.
laps is that?
As many as you
As
can run in
many as
24
you
hours.
can get done, yeah.
Is that how the winner is picked?
Just whoever drives the farthest.
All right.
And there's actually usually multiple winners because there's different
Classes,
classes
yeah.
on track at the same time as well.
Oh,
So there's
yeah.
different.
So-
different.
Okay.
So much like in go-karting, when you were on the go-kart track in a rental cart, and there were people that were absolutely screaming by you in shifter carts.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, there's there's like 5 races happening on time in the 24 hours of Daytona, where those slow carts are in their own race by themselves, and the fast cars are in a race, and you're trying not to get in each other's way.
Oh wow.
So
That
there's a
sounds
lot of headlight
cool.
flashing
In the
happening
dark.
in the race.
Yeah, part of it in the dark.
I didn't mean to
Or the
take us
rain.
down a
And
rabbit
sometimes
hole.
rain, sometimes rain and dark, and then you
37
can't see
degrees.
anything.
Here's the thing: I didn't have time to go down the rabbit hole today by myself, so I was like, I
Be
gotta
careful,
ask about
Dakota.
it.
You're going to find racing interesting before
Well, see,
this
and
is over.
The thing with the Rolex too is it's in like the end of January. Nothing else is going on in racing, so it's become a literal all-star race because none of the other racing drivers have anything going on at that time of year. So they all show up. So like Dale Earnhart's run it, Dale Earnhart Jr.'s run it. Like a half the IndyCar paddock
Everybody
will
in
be
our
down
live
there.
studio audience has
Yeah.
run the Rolex 24.
And so it's like the who's who. Yeah, we have a bunch of cardboard cutouts. Do it for Dale. Those guys all run it because it's like if you win, you even run that race, it's a big deal because like it's hard to get a seat
Because you
everybody
win a
wants to do
Rolex.
it. Yeah, well, it kicks off the year. Like everybody gets so excited when it comes around because you're like, oh, racing's almost here, and then they have you can just sit there and watch it for an entire day. Like it starts, and you just
It's February or January. There's nothing else going on.
There's nothing-
It's
yeah.
just cold.
yeah, it's fascinating.
Here's the other fun part, Dakota, and we're going to get back to go-kart track talk in a second, but they have essentially pro-am categories. So there are series where, and usually what happens is there's a rich guy that pays for all of it and he gets to drive, but you have teams that have to have a guy they have
Gentleman driver.
gold, silver, bronze level rated drivers. So a guy like you that goes out to the new Castle Motorsports Park, takes an interest in it, runs a go-kart for a few years, then you go get a sports car license, and you have your successful Beezer Creek wood shop that can write some checks. You too can run the Rolex 24.
Interesting. That seems insane. That seems.
Yes.
It is, yeah.
Yes.
Some of them are really good, though. I mean, some of them, essentially, like Paul Newman came up almost as like a gentleman driver and then Patrick Dempsey. Patrick, yeah. McDreamy. He's a very accomplished race car driver, too, and kind of came up that way. But I don't know if they were paying the ride, but you should watch Ford versus Ferrari. Fascinating movie.
Very
Yeah.
good show.
I've heard that. Yeah.
And it
So-
covers that.
So let's talk about the racetrack a little bit more. 2003, 2004, track gets built. It's a little over a 1 mile road course. And then over time, there have been a number of different additions, different configurations. How many different ways are there to race a go-kart out there?
So right now, yeah, and like you said, it started out, we had maybe 4 or 5 different, just with different cut-throughs here and there. As we've added on over the years, we've not even hit them all. I can tell you right now, we've raced over 60 different configurations, and there'll be times where Mark and I are talking about, and he's like, "Well, I want to do this, this, and this," and I'm scrolling through all of them. We haven't done that. So okay, here we are, configuration 61 now, and so there's still.
Does that mean you have to go measure the track, or do you send Logan out there with a wheel?
I get on a wheel on a scooter and I go measure the track from a scooter and a wheel.
1.134 miles around the track today.
Our longest is right at 1.6, just shy of 1.6. So, and that's with kind of everything in.
What makes it a road course?
So, you've got a road course and you've got ovals. Your oval is,
okay, so
it's just essentially it's round.
It's a
twisty. It just has more turns.
Lefts, rights.
Okay.
It's got both.
All right.
Okay.
Now
Next
next
level question. What's a street course?
A street course is a temporary course where, they'll, whatever it be, we were talking earlier about go-karting on the street. Obviously, IndyCar does it with, different races that they run where they actually go down and shut down streets and race on permanent streets, but it's a temporary course for the racers.
Would you say that you have a roval?
We actually have, we do have an oval worked in there.
Right.
It's actually kind of an egg-shaped oval. It's got 4, but one end is a lot narrower than the other.
Yeah. It's like a little Darlington.
Yeah, it's
Henry
right
County's
at
Darlington.
Yeah, it's right at a quarter mile, so it's pretty big for a go-kart track for an oval. A lot of those guys are 1/8 mile, maybe just a little over.
Are we running wide open?
It on most everything.
Yeah.
Now we have actually we'll utilize part of that for some of our races, and the shifter carts and the quicker they have to get out of it a little bit.
So the way that it's paved now, like the way that you have it set up now, is that the same general layout that it's been the whole time? Have you added things or?
So one half is about the same. We've added a couple small things on that side, but everything else has taken place east of the track and southeast of the original track, and we've just added.
Okay.
There's one, what we call the bus stop, and it's just kind of an in and back out that we've added to the original course, as well as just a cut through to shorten the length of the straightaway.
Okay.
So that changes gearing. That it just gives you more dynamic to the racetrack. Just different things for people to look at
to make it challenging, because people think, okay, go-kart, cool, just a go-kart. I've been in one. I was in a 5-horse Briggs when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. Right, something my dad bought. And we would set up cones at an abandoned elementary school and go play with go-karts. But there's an infinite number of possibilities for shifting carts, different categories, different motors, different chassis designs. I assume choosing gear stacks to decide how fast a cart can go. There's a lot of mechanical knowledge that goes into owning and operating go-karts.
Absolutely, there's a ton, and there are, in addition to different motor packages, there's also different age groups within motor packages, and so on and so forth.
Weight classes,
different weight classes. We do have we start. Your kid. We were talking 3 years old. We actually start racing at age 5, and
he's almost too late.
Call a kid kart. You start practicing at 4.5, and then start racing at 5, and that's what we call the kid kart class. It's a little 50cc motor, and that's got a specific wheelbase that it has to fall within. Next step up would be cadet, which is your 8 to 12s. Wheelbase is obviously a little bit bigger, different motor package, so on.
I have to stop for a second and ask the question. Zach and I are big fans of Dinner with Racers. Are you familiar with Dinner with Racers?
Say again?
The podcast Dinner with Racers.
I'm not.
Ryan Eversley and Sean Heckman host this, and they say that every racer begins with a con. There's a lie that's told somewhere along the line to get their career started. There's a lie, and I just want to know how many birth certificates you've had to see for 4.5-year-olds to know, because I feel like there's an advantage if you can get that kid in at 4 years and 3 months. I want to know where the con is here.
I'll be honest with you. There is Joseph Newgarden, for example. He started when he was 12.
Yeah.
He didn't get into a kart. He wasn't into kid karts. He did some other stuff. He raced actually go-peds prior to
scooter
go-karts.
racing, right?
Yeah. But he actually, he and his family started coming up from Hendersonville, Tennessee, and started coming up when we opened in 2004. And that was basically his first go-kart race was at Castle Motorsports Park.
If you all had started earlier, maybe the Knightstown thing worked out. He could have already had an extra championship.
You're right, a third championship or something, right?
He was behind because he started when he was 12.
Yeah,
he'd have a win. He would have won for Sarah Fisher.
That elusive 500 win. He was just a little bit ahead of Penske's slump.
Here's the other advantage you have, Dakota. You live in Spiceland, Indiana.
Yeah.
You could be out there with young Jackson Davis constantly.
Seems like it requires financing, though. That might be my issue.
Logan, how does financing work for a young go-karter's career?
Typically, you can get sponsors. You can find people that are willing to give you money, and if you're good enough, then they're happy to hand you money. But yeah, so you just go around, ask people, tell them what you've done, tell them what your plans are, and then 9 times out of 10, they're more than happy to hand you $50 or something to help you out, buy you a set of tires or anything that can help.
All right, so let's talk through. We're going to get young Jackson Davis down on the path here, and it could be any listener out there that's interested as well. Joey Molinaro is a big fan of the show, big friend of the show. Been on here many times with us, and he's got his young one as well, Frankie, and Joey is completely convinced that he's going to get Frankie in the Indy 500 as well. So through Newcastle Motorsports Park, you've had Connor Daly, Joseph Newgarden, some of these guys that have started their careers out there and have advanced through. I know it's all generic numbers, but what's a family need a budget to start a go-kart program to say, hey, I want us to come out here and see what it's like?
Yeah, I mean that's one of those things. How long's a string, right? What are you looking for? Are you looking to do local, or it's one thing completely different if you're racing locally here at Newcastle Motorsports Park, or jumping on and going to run with SCUSA or USPKS around the country.
Right. If they're looking
to run
to get their feet
here,
wet and
run here, we've got a relatively affordable class. It's called LO206, and it's a LO206 is a local option 206 Briggs and Stratton motor, and I would say a full budget for that. I can't say that I've actually put a number to it, but I've got to think that you should be able to run all 14 of our races with rebuilds and everything else. I'd say between $4,500, $5,500 for the year after your initial investment. So what our whole point of what we do on a weekly basis is try to keep it affordable. It's a great environment to raise your kids in. We've been fortunate with both of our kids being able to be raised around the racetracks. There's a lot of really good people out there, and we want to have racing available to more people, and that's the whole point. Again, you start stepping into the national stuff, and that changes really, really quickly. But for what we do out there, you can have a great weekend with your family.
And there are different levels of facilities out there as well, right? There are people that come in, and I assume they race out of a pickup truck with a pop-up fly canopy. There are people that come in with the big race car haulers, and then you've got even permanent setups out there where people can just garage all their stuff at the track.
Correct, yeah, and the locally at our club races, which our club we're pulling about somewhere between 250 usually entries per weekend. So we're fortunate. We have a fairly strong club. We're obviously right in the heart of racing here in Central Indiana. So we're able to pull from a lot of different directions, and so our club benefits from that. And the fact that we keep it, we try to keep the costs low for everybody. But you'll see guys show up, like you said, in their trucks, and usually a small trailer is kind of the way to go for the local racers at this point. But then we do also have the garages out there. 73 of those that we rent out and keep full for the year. Actually still a waiting list on those right now, so we're contemplating. I mean, we've tossed it around. There's not really a good spot to put more at the moment.
Next level.
Yeah, second story.
We're going to elevate.
Parking garage and drive down ramp.
We're going to elevate.
Elevator. Can you imagine just some kid just standing there with his helmet in his hand, cart next to him, just coming down the elevator like he's coming up on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier?
No, we just need a ramp.
Some kid would
just need a ramp.
Highway to the
Yeah, you have to have some way to keep the kids from flying up the ramp. Catch fencing. Elevator, though, sounds awesome.
Put a speed bump on it.
Yeah.
Slow them down on their way up.
Doesn't take much of a speed bump with a 4-inch wheel.
Just high sides them.
You had when your seat's 1 inch and a half off the ground, yeah.
Yeah, a quarter inch, you're going to feel it.
Maybe a reverse speed bump where it goes down.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's like a little oil change bay you've developed. All right, so some notable events that have happened out there over the years. I know that the RoboPong, there was an endurance race that existed. The race for Riley has happened out at the Speedway a number of years. Tell us about the kinds of names and the people that have come through Henry County that folks might recognize.
I mean, with both those events you mentioned, we had a lot of the IndyCar drivers out. Susie Weldon did the Dan Weldon Memorial Pro-Am out there for a couple years. Obviously, her boys are now racing, and she's got her hands
They're
pretty
on
full
their way
with that.
with Andretti.
Yep. And so she stays very busy with that. So we've not done the Pro-Am here in quite a few years. And Robopong also hasn't happened. But we were looking to put that on the schedule for this year, just with a different type of motor. The tag motors that, before I go down a rabbit hole, like he said, the tag motors, that kind of the motors that were on there, that type of racing kind of declined. And there's a similar motor, only it's 100cc air cooled. And that's actually coming on strong. And we're looking at revamping the Robopong and doing that again for 2024.
Was a tag motor liquid cooled?
Tag motor, it stands for touch and go, as simple as that sounds. And prior to that, go-karts didn't have onboard starters. So this actually has an onboard starter. It was 125cc and it was water-cooled. That was what the tag motor
formula.
was. There's different manufacturers of that, but this would actually also kind of be a tag motor. One of the manufacturers has a 100cc version, still has an onboard starter, but it's air-cooled. And so that's becoming very popular in the U.S., and so that's probably the route we're going to go to kind of, bring back the Robopong again. But all the IndyCar guys would come out for that. Will Power, he was out there for it quite a few years. Obviously, Joseph, Dan Weldon was always out there for that race. It's actually the trophy we have for that now is the Dan Weldon Cup, and it sits right on our front counter when you come in, and it's got the names of all the past winners on it. And every year it's a two-man team. You were talking about the endurance race, the 24-hour race where it's 2 or 3. Every year it's been two-man teams that have won that race. 200 miles and complete with pit stops and everything else. Most karting races are sprint length, so you don't come in, change tires, you don't fuel up or anything. You go out, you run your 12 lap, 15 lap, 18 lap, whatever the race is, and then come in and you're done. But on that event, it was 200 miles, so you had to come in, refuel, change tires, all that kind of stuff, just like the Indy cars.
The Rex Norris, the third, from here in, I guess he's Dunreath area, or the shop is down in Dunreath. I know he ran that as the Ironman a few times, and he had
Single
no
driver.
relief driver.
Single driver, yep.
He'd do it all by himself, which is even more insane and crazy.
Yep, there was a couple that did that, Rex being one of them. There was another guy, because when we first started, it had to be a minimum of 2, maximum of 4 drivers, but there was no, there was nothing saying that each driver had to split it equally. So sometimes you'd have one guy that just shows up and does 10 laps. I remember one year a guy had his partner had never been in a kart before and decided to bring him out for this race. The guy got out there, he couldn't hack it, so he got in, started the race, immediately came in, and then other guy took off, because that was one of the rules at that point, is it had to be a minimum of 2 drivers. Later on, we did allow single drivers on it, and he was one of them. There was another guy by the name of they had a kart shop, but he came out and did it not only a lone driver, but also his own pit crew. So he'd come in, change his own tires, and fuel his cart up, and then go back out. Jim Russell, and he did it all by himself completely.
So, Logan, have you ever been in trouble and they've sent you out there and said, "Go do 200 miles, kid"?
I've never been punished that way, no. But that would be quite the punishment.
He would have liked that one. That would have been counterintuitive for a punishment.
Just go burn tires, kid.
Hey, Logan, go do the thing you love.
Yeah, and then pull in, and I'll get you reset, and you can go right back out there.
All right, so Logan, let's talk about you a little bit. You've grown up around the racetrack, and you've been out at Castle Motorsports Park, and you are starting the process of getting to some higher level stuff. So FIA is the sanctioning body, and you are in the is it USF4?
Yeah, it's the United States Formula 4 Championship.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And you're racing this calendar year. You're going to be at COTA, which is where F1 races. You're going to be at Mid-Ohio, Virginia International Raceway, all over the biggest and the baddest stops in North America.
Right, yeah.
So what's it like going from a go-kart to a Formula car?
It's definitely a different animal, for sure. You kind of get the same idea of it. You go into the corner, you brake as hard as you can. You roll it through the corner, carrying as much momentum as you can. Get back on the gas so you can carry the speed. So you kind of know what to do already, but you get used to the extra 1,300 pounds that you have underneath you, and the extra 100 mile an hour. So
How many horsepower is your go-kart?
I'm not sure 100%, but if I had to guess, probably somewhere around 16 to 20.
All right, so you got a 20 horsepower go-kart, about the same as a good lawnmower.
Right.
How many horsepower are you running in a Formula car?
That's a good question for him. I just drive, honestly. They put it all together, and I get suited up and hop in. But if I had to guess, probably
Sponsors are going to want to know, man. You're going to have to have this one ready on lock.
It's a Ligier 1.6 liter engine. That's I know that much.
All right.
What's the Honda? The chassis is the Ligier.
Oh, see, I don't even know that much. But
4 cylinders of pure Japanese power.
Yes, sir.
All right. And so, how many buttons are on your steering wheel?
Oh, I got to think about that one. 8. You got 8 buttons.
8 buttons. So you've got some adjustments in the car that you're making on your own?
Yeah, you have the brake bias on your right side. So the brake bias, you can turn it to the right, and you put more weight put more brake towards the front of the tires. So you hit the brakes, and you can change it to. I run around 60-40. So when I press the brake, 60% goes to the front, and then 40% goes to the rear. So you can get the car slowed down and still make it through the corner.
Dakota, do you know why that makes a difference?
Nope.
Think about stopping a truck or a trailer, and now move all of the weight to the front. What's going to happen if you brake really hard and you've got no weight in the back and all your weight's in the front?
All right, so you're going to keep pushing.
You're going to plant the nose and spin it, right?
Right. Yeah. So you have to find the balance. You have to find what you're comfortable with. So I run 60% to the front tires and 40% to the rear. And they say to run more to the front. So when you hit the brakes, you can actually turn into the corner because that momentum's carrying you through, and you won't be able to make it.
All right. So you got your brake bias. You
can turn up your radio and turn down your radio. So while you're out there, if they're too loud or too quiet,
you're tired of listening to the pit box. Right, just turn them off.
Yeah, you could do that. They wouldn't be too happy by the time you came in, though. You can adjust. You got the fire button. So if you ever fire breaks out inside the car, you have the extinguisher. So it's a red button. You press it, and a whole bunch of cold air shoots into the car and puts it out. That's about all that's on the sides. And then once you go to the steering wheel, you have your neutral buttons. So when you want to shift it into first gear and you're in neutral, you press the neutral button, and then you press upshift, and it will put it into first gear.
So you're paddle shifting.
Right. Yes, sir.
There's no mechanical shifter at this point.
No, you got the clutch still. So you got to ease out on the clutch when you take off, but that's about the only time you use it. Other than that, you're using your hands the whole time.
No onboard starter.
Yes, sir. Yeah, they're actually.
You do have an onboard starter.
Yeah, so I forgot to mention that you have a switch over here. So you just lift the switch up, and it turns on the pump and gets the air pressurized inside the car, and then you have a green button on your steering wheel. You press that, and then it fires the car up.
All right.
The air he's talking about, his shifter is air on this. It's on the F4. Everything else is electronic, but on this one, it's actually an air. So it turns on, charges the pump, and that's how you shift is with air.
Really? So it's a pneumatic shifter, essentially.
Correct.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
So does it have an onboard compressor, or is it like CO? Are you shifting with CO2 or something?
No, it's onboard compressor.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so you have 2 spots on your switch here. So you can lift it halfway up, and then you can hear the compressor kick on. It's a brrr, and then you have to wait for that to shut off, and then you can lift it to the next step, and then you press the green button, and that's what starts it.
All right. So if anything goes wrong in a race, we're blaming the air compressor.
Yeah,
you get out and you give the air. My air compressor quit, and we lost drive.
Yeah,
that's our
first
go-to. That's our first blame.
Yeah.
I was dehydrated.
I was going to say chocolate milk.
Do you have a drink button?
No, I don't.
No?
Not yet.
All right.
No.
When you get to the Indy 500.
Yeah, I heard they do, but I heard the water's warm.
Well, but you could do chocolate milk. You'd be the first guy in the history of the race to do chocolate milk in your onboard drink bottle.
Could lead you down the bad path.
Be drinking cottage cheese by lap 10. Chocolate cheese.
Cottage cheese.
Just chunks through the hose.
All right, so we assume that you're going to win 3 or 4 races this year, win the championship, and then what happens next? How does this path go? Dakota gets young Jackson into go-karts, successful, moves into USF 4, and then how does this little ladder system go to get all the way to the big Memorial Day weekend race?
Yeah, so if you're successful in Formula 4, then you move up to the USF 2000, and that stands for United States Formula 2000. And then after a year in that, you move up to the USF Pro 2000, which is pretty much the same car. It's a 10 mile an hour faster, and you have a little bit more downforce.
A little more advanced version of the same car.
Right, yeah. So it just gets you kind of used to the bigger wings on the cars and downforce, like I said. And
You have wings on your car now?
yeah, I do.
First time you've had wings.
Right, yes, yeah. Red Bull gave them to me, actually. But yeah, after the USF Pro car, you go into the Indy NXT, and then that's a big jump. So they go from around 170, and then that one instantly goes up to I think 210 or something around there. And then after a year or two in the Indy NXT, you move up to the IndyCar, and then also a big jump up to 230, 235.
So what he's describing is not an impossible path. I think Kyle Kirkwood just recently did it. He went through the entire ladder series. Joseph Newgarden went through the same ladder series, and they've done the same thing.
Right. So
Kirkwood did it from Florida, and Newgarden did it up here in Indiana.
Right. Yeah. We were sitting in a driver's meeting at the Formula 4 thing, and they said that I think it's like 60% of the field now has gone through the road to Indy.
Yep.
And so it's the most common way to get there.
Are you sold yet, Dakota?
I was just thinking, do you have to buy a new car each time that you go up the ladder?
No, so you lease it from your team owner. You typically go with a team. I'm with Jay Howard Driver Development right now. So we leased the car out, signed a contract for this year, and that is my car for the year. And then after this year, he'll lease it out to somebody else next year, and they'll be able to drive it. And then, just kind of the same thing every step up the way, and then by the time you get to the NXTs and the Indy cars, they ask you to drive them.
So Jay Howard was a multiple Indy 5. Poor Jay it took him many efforts to make the Indy 500. When he finally made the Indy 500, it was spectacular breakthrough because he had 2 or 3 years where he was right on the bubble and found every way to be on the wrong end of it. But he's been successful in the karting program over the last few years. One of his last sponsors in the Indy 500 was our friend Rusty at Mount Comfort RV. So there was the incident between the Camping World Scott Dixon car and the Mount Comfort RV car with Jay Howard, and that was always Rusty's favorite picture of those two when they were getting together there.
That's good. Yeah,
I think Rusty talked about that when he was on the show. I didn't realize you were with Jay. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Does he still talk like an Englishman?
Yes, he does. We say he's faking it because he's been over here for 15 years at this point. He's still holding on to it.
It just sounds expensive.
Yeah, and he got his tea all the time. And
He's a former Robopong winner too, I believe. Last time I went to Robopong, I think he won. He ran an endurance race there with the amateur, I think. Maybe it wasn't Robopong. He used to be out there, I think.
Jay was out there.
Yeah,
he raced there, even in karts. I mean, before any of the car stuff, he raced in karts, which is where from the track, that's where we see him. We see, I saw Sage Karam running cadet karts out there, and same thing. You see him as they come up through the ranks. I don't think Jay had a win in Robopong, though. Joseph Newgarden had it twice, one with my father-in-law, one with my brother-in-law. Weldon, I believe, had 2. Ricky Rudd had 1. NASCAR name from way back.
Mr. Virginia.
Yeah, and I don't think Will Power ever won it. But, I mean, they were all there competing every year. I don't think Jay had a win in that, but I could be mistaken.
Zach will check it for us.
Yeah, fact check me.
I was out there once and saw he won something out there because it was a local guy. And then his driver development program has gotten huge. Like he's turned that into he's got drivers. He's good at getting people moving on up through the
Yeah, I mean he
ladder.
started with a go-kart team and then has kind of turned it into he's got not only the F4 program, he has USF 2000 and Pro 2000 cars and has drivers in all the seats. He's got his son's actually racing karts now. He's just Hudson I think Hudson's 7 now, and he's running at Newcastle. Jay's got a garage out there, so
That's
common
awesome.
interests.
So Logan, what's the physical commitment here? Are you in the gym? Do you have to be ready to advance through? At some point, these cars
They
no longer
smiled
have.
at each other. They
At some
smiled
point, I
pretty
think I
big.
found a nerve. At some point, they stopped putting power steering on these cars.
Yeah, so actually, I don't think the Formula 4 does have power steering, and you can definitely tell. Yeah, your shoulders get tired, but I'm not very disciplined on going to the gym, and he's always on me about it.
I will say this kid will work. He works so hard. He doesn't have to spend a lot of time there. I mean, he does. He works out at the track. We cut a lot of firewood, things like that. He is very physical. But yeah, I do tell him on a regular basis he needs to go to the gym
You got
with
the
us.
Seek Discomfort shirt on.
Yeah, I know. He's been starting to do all this running and stuff, and I despise running. I cannot do it. I respect everybody else that does, but I cannot bring myself to run. And he always asks me every day, "You want to go on a run with me?" And I make up an excuse not to.
Find a reason to not do that part.
Yeah.
All right. So if people have been interested and they're like, I'm not going to go buy a go-kart, I'm not going to start with that, but they do want to have the experience, you do have the rental card option to get people started.
We do. Now, not to get into a race, but we have a rental carts, and what's unique to our rentals is they are actually racing chassis. They aren't the big heavy tubing where you go and it feels sluggish. This will actually handle just like a go-kart.
It's been 5 years since I've done it, but you can go out there and completely be on the limit of the chassis. You can overdrive the car, completely lose, you can spin out, right?
Sure,
You
absolutely.
can completely lose adhesion. But you also, you have full timing and scoring. You've got your lap times are showing up on the steering wheel. it's a legit cart.
Yeah. It's like I said, we thought about getting rental carts and just can't get away from the fact that it's not going to handle the same. It's not going to be the same thing. So this will actually get you a feel for getting into what essentially
And they
what we race out there.
ruin you for any other rental car place. You go anywhere else, these indoor places and stuff, and you're like, this is garbage compared to Newcastle. It's just so much more fun. It's so much more fun. It's not even comparable. It's almost like they're different things entirely. Yeah, we went and did it like we said for Jeremiah's on Jeremiah's wedding day, the morning of his wedding.
I also was born stupid, Logan.
Right before we had to start getting our suits on. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. But one thing that we have talked about is that, like you said, there were kids out there that were going around the track, and they were just blowing us away. They owned their carts and stuff. So I was curious, like, if I want to go out there, if I want to take some friends out there, do I need to be aware of what the racing schedule is going to be? Do you not want me on the track at certain times if you have a race that weekend? What's that like?
We mentioned earlier about all the expansion. In essence, there's two tracks out there. Sometimes we tie them all together. Sometimes it's not. We have rentals available even if we have racing going on, which actually then turns out to be a great day, right? You can come out, you can watch some racing, you can get on some carts. Our restaurant's always open on race days as well, which that's the only time our restaurant is open is on race weekends. So you can't show up on Wednesday and grab a cheeseburger, but I might be biased, but it's some of the, it's really good food. But show up, do that, get on a cart, watch some racing yourself, have lunch, and it ends up being a great time. Through the week, we actually have two separate tracks a lot of times because we can do rentals on one side and the other. So people will do, if you come out and rent an hour, you can do 20 minutes on one, 20 minutes on the other, and decide which one you like the best and do your last 20 minutes on. So it's always a good idea to give us a call. But even on a Tuesday, we may have a corporate event going on, a bachelor party or whatever, where the track's shut down for just that group as well. So it's always a good idea to give us a call ahead of time and check the schedule, or Facebook message or whatever the way you'd like to contact us. But so we have kind of it's a busy schedule, which kind of has to be by nature, but. There's plenty of time, even if it's a race. There's some of the races, any of the traveling that you see that, if you're looking at our schedule and it doesn't say KRA, and it's one of the other traveling series, typically they're not available on those weekends. Okay. So when you see a USPKS or a SCUSA or a Vintage Karting Association, on those dates it's not available.
Okay. So we talked before about starting kids at 5 years old to get out on the go-karts. I'm assuming you're not going to let me go out with a 5-year-old and put him in a rental car.
No, not on the rentals. Unfortunately, on the rentals, we have a minimum age of 14. That's just all set by the insurance companies, and that's what we get to deal with. We do, however, have a slick track out there now, and it just has a minimum height requirement of 54 inches. So, even kids that are younger than 14 can get on that. It's a ton of fun. It's going to be more of it's not going to feel like a go-kart. It's more of a recreational and just go out there and have fun. But it is a ton of fun. It's very small, highly polished concrete oval, and go out there and it's a drift track for karts basically. And you can get 5 or 6 people on there at a time, and you're not supposed to bump, but it might happen a little bit. It's got to be within reason, but it's just kind of fun to go out there and push each other around a little bit.
All right. Last group of questions I have for Logan over here, because I'm thinking about this racing career. They only turn left at the Indy 500.
Right, yeah. I've been working on my left-handers.
So, Formula 4, left and right. When are you going to start mixing the ovals? Are you going to run a midget as well, like your grandfather did? How are you going to start getting the oval discipline down so that you're ready when you get into the NXT cars?
So typically, you don't really run ovals until you get into the USF cars. Once you get into those and you have the higher downforce in the Formula 4 and you have the bigger wings and things that can actually stick you to the track, then you start going on the ovals. But I haven't been on an oval yet, and I don't plan to go on one, and this year at least. I do in the future, but
what if we find you somebody in the Crown Victoria series to let you drive up there at Mount Lawn?
Oh, I would definitely not turn it down. I'm more than happy. If you got a seat for me, I'll drive it.
There's the race car driver answer.
He's never said no to it. Do you want to get in this and drive it?
All right, Josh Norris. He wants to take some laps in your Crown Vic. That's what we're hearing. So how about the stock car side? I have to ask that question because Brayton Laster was here back in January, and he was he's a young guy from the Greenwood area, and he ran the ARCA race at Daytona at 18, 19 years old. 2 years in a row he's run that. You're on the formula track. That's the specialty you're selecting?
Well, I do plan to go to IndyCar. Obviously, once again, would never turn down a ride in a NASCAR or a sprint car or anything like that. But yeah, my goal is to follow in my grandfather's footsteps and hopefully win the 500 for the family.
There you go. That's awesome. What year did he make his first start?
92, 91 maybe?
An IndyCar?
Indy 500.
At that 500.
At 500, yeah.
First start would have been probably 93-ish.
93. All
maybe
right.
94.
I'm just trying to
when he
figure out
made his actual first start. That's I obviously we know in 91 there he was testing out there. It was on practice day, and I think he was going to start then, but I really don't know when he had his first start out there.
I'm trying to find the big number to know how many years between his first start and your first start. That's the math I'm trying to get to here.
So we were talking about it, and I feel like it was either 93 or 94.
He won Daytona in 93.
Yeah. And I know he got back into the IndyCar after Daytona.
He was running from Menard in 96, I know, but I think he might have had some one-off starts prior to that.
First Indy 500 start was 1996.
Okay, really? So it was when he was running from Menard.
Yeah, with Menard, Team Menard. There you go.
I need to get my information down.
96 to 02. All right, a lot of good years in there to play with. We can find a hook.
Oh yeah.
All right, very good, Mike. This has been awesome, man.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate you guys having me out.
We've been good friends with Representative Saunders, who got you your road out there many years ago, the Pierce Parkway. What else do people need to know? Is this kind of our final thoughts here? Things we've forgotten, things that we need to highlight about the track, about you guys, maybe how they can get involved in sponsorship of a young American racer.
Checkbook and a pen. No, absolutely. I mean, I'm out at the track every day. So, except for tomorrow because I'm going to be in Illinois. But we're open basically Tuesday through Sunday for rentals, for open practice, for that kind of stuff, unless we have a race or something that supersedes that. Always free to come out and watch. We have the restaurant going on race weekends. You can come out and watch some really good racing. Watch these kids that are, fast forward 15 years, and you're going to see these guys running at the 500.
Does it cost to get in to watch?
It's absolutely free. No charge. As long as you're inside the building, we have a patio area there that even has some bleachers on it, and all those areas are no charge, just so
What
that
you're
people
telling
can
me
come
is
out.
all these times I've driven past really slowly.
Yeah.
My kid in the back seat
Yeah.
with the windows down.
You could have
That
just
was
come
all
right
for
in.
nothing.
You could have come right in. Now, to get into the pit area, anywhere though it does require a pit pass. Obviously, any of the safety concern areas, but inside the building or on the patio, just come right in. And we have, like I said, food going on the weekends. You can come out and spend all weekend and not spend a dime. I mean, I don't even care if you pack a lunch. We've got an earth mound over there. You can pack a lunch and just come out and watch. I mean, we want to let people see our sport, basically.
If you hang out too much, though, you're going to end up in charge of something.
Right? We may throw you in green corner with a flag.
I was going to say, you're going to be a corner worker in no time.
Yeah, you'll have a flag in your hand before you know it.
It did say they're closed
Yeah,
on
your
Mondays.
dad made that mistake, didn't he?
Yeah.
He stopped out one day, and then he was out there
Next
for
thing you know,
many years.
Yeah, now you don't have a weekend free for the summer for the rest of your life.
Oh, it's a Burcham's and volunteering for things that are going to be a long-term commitment is a
Oh, yeah.
hereditary mistake. All right, Mr. Zach, what final thoughts do you have for us? Anything to highlight?
I have a question. Who's the fastest member of the family around the track?
I think right now it is me, I believe. So. Me and Grandpa, I actually built him a vintage cart last summer. Saved up from what I earned from working, and I built him a vintage cart so he could drive what he used to drive. And he was quick, but
I can remember him racing some still out there once in a while. And people would be like, "Oh," and then he'd pistol whip people.
Yeah.
they like, "Oh, what's he gonna do?" And it's like, I don't know. It's like it's his track.
he sells himself short.
I bet he does. I bet he probably beats himself up if he's not as fast as he wants to be too. But yeah, people should go check that place out. My dad volunteered out there. I had him at college, open house out there. And when they have like big events, it's a crazy place to be and see everything that's going on. One of the craziest experiences of my life was sitting there on the grass mound watching one of the races. It was a Pro-Am, and I was like, who is this next to me? And I was like on the grass mound next to Jim Irsay's daughter because one of the Foyt members was out there, and those two families are married, which is that's the most Indiana thing ever, is to have the Irsays and the Foyts related. But it's a cool spot, and the food is really good. Like, I bet the food's as good as it was when I was there at the restaurant. So go there on the weekends. But other than that, I don't have much to talk about.
You ready for the month of May?
Yeah.
For the Speedway for move-in day on Thursday?
Yeah, I'm loading up, trying to get stuff done. Camping season at the racetrack's begun.
Funny enough, by next year, I think you'll see him. We're trying to get something put together for this year for him to run the USF 2000 this coming weekend, and it just didn't work out this year. But I think by next year, you'll see him running in some of the support races.
So when we come out there next year for the Grand Prix, the AMR Grand Prix weekend, we're going to have to hunt Logan down for an autograph. So what's going to happen?
Even a picture, even.
Or if you hang around too much,
trackside interview.
Exactly.
you hang around. Oh, we'll deeply embed ourselves with y'all if you want. It'll be a great time.
Yeah, we go get dinner after the day's over or something.
That's it. That's perfect. All right, Logan, this has been awesome. Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's my first one.
All right.
I've learned a lot.
You got any sponsors to thank?
Comet Kart Sales in Newcastle Motorsports Park.
There you go. That's you got to say thank you to all the people that get you on the track every time.
Oh yeah. For anybody wondering, Comet Kart Sales does sell carts and chassis that you can use at the Newcastle Motorsports Park.
Get a direct dovetail in.
Yeah.
All right. And if you mention Boss Hog, Dakota gets 2% off when he purchases the cart for young Jackson.
Yeah.
Depends on how many people.
We're going to get you sold on this.
Get 0.25% per person.
Every
That buys
cart
a
you
whole
sell
cart.
will knock something off the next one for when you get your cart.
Yeah.
Use promo code
Long-term
Dakota.
commission.
Use promo code Dakota.
Yeah.
And then
probably
2050,
place.
see your
They
son
did-
out there?
They started getting them out there and be like, what is this? People keep using this promo code that doesn't exist.
All right, D squared. Anything for me?
I don't have anything. Thanks, guys, for coming on.
Yeah,
It's
thank you guys.
a lot of fun. Learned some more. every May I learn some more about racing that I didn't think I had questions about, but I end up asking questions anyway. So
we're going to force it upon you. A week from Thursday, we'll be back. Some late breaking news on the Indy 500. You do need to go if you want to watch the race. The Peacock blackout restriction is on. So you're going to have a bunch of very angry baby boomers that don't know how to stream something, that don't know what a Peacock is, but now they can't do it, so they're going to be pissed off.
So it's streaming only?
No, there was a loophole. So like last year, last 2 years or whatever, they've come up with like a streaming platform like you could subscribe to in Peacock, and it's great because you can watch all the practice. And if you're a fan like me, you'll sit and
$5 a month.
You'll sit and watch all of the practice, like all 6 hours of it during the week next week. And Peacock, they hadn't quite thought of that yet, and because the race is always blacked out locally, except for like 2016 when it sold out, they lifted the blackout, and they hadn't figured out how to geofence it really, and so people figured out that they could watch it on Peacock even if they were in Indianapolis, and they've got the nerds on duty, and they figured out how to stop that, so there's geofenced again. So if you're in Indianapolis, if you want to watch it live, you got to be at 16th in Georgetown.
You need to come to the track. Enjoy it.
No skips.
All right. With that, we say thank you very much. Episode 300 will be back on a Thursday next week. We will catch you all then.
Congratulations on 300, guys.